Hey everyone, it's Brandy. Welcome back to my channel, Brandy Janae's Bookshelf. I finally have another Manga Spice Cafe box. I think this one is the October box. So this was box 2 of their like spooky theme months. So I think they split it over September and October. Still kind of sucks because it was late. So like spooky season is pretty much over, but let's go ahead and get into unboxing this. Here is the little handout from this month, and sorry if there is a glare. I did move my box light so it's kind of facing me now, or at least for this filming. But here is just like a quick glimpse of all of the information for this specific box there. So this month we do have black paper, and besides whatever that was that just fell out, here is what we're looking at as far as the snacks. Starting with the snacks, we have one of those tube shaped like snack puff things. I never look up exactly how to say it, but we have it looks like maybe just one of those this month. It says that this one is corn potage flavor, which I'm sure we probably have already had these. I feel like at least in this box we have had like similar flavors, like 3 flavors in rotation. The next thing that we have is these chocolate covered pretzels called Choco Knots, and I have had these before. I'm pretty sure. I'm kind of like on them because I'm not like a huge chocolate fan. Like, they weren't nasty, but they weren't my favorite. We have like this little mini sample pack of these Hello Panda cookies. This is just like a cookie with some chocolate filling in it. I have had this brand or this type of cookie before, but not this specific flavor. I've had a strawberry flavor and then a cookies and cream flavor from other boxes that I have gotten. Maybe the strawberry came in this one, I can't remember, but I know for sure that I've tried like these cookies, just not just straight chocolate flavor. Next thing that we have is this little heart-shaped thing, and it's actually just like a jelly snack in shape of a heart. So this one is assorted fruit flavors. The next thing says fudgy bar, and it looks like it is a vanilla cake bar with vanilla cream filling, if that will focus. Yeah, you can barely see that. The next thing that's in here is this like little packet here, and it says that this one is a pack of fruit flavored gummies. So basically like fruit snacks. I wasn't gonna do the ramen, I was gonna save that for last, but I'm just gonna do it now. So we have this quick chow instant pancit canton chicken adobo flavored noodles, which we have not had this brand at least for the year that I've been subscribed, or almost a year. The last like food item other than the drink is this bag of Cheetos. This specific one is American artificial turkey flavor. And then finally for the drink we have Milky's melon carbonated drink, which I feel like I have had one of these possibly this year already. And then finally we have the 3 volumes of manga that were included for this month, so I'm gonna go ahead and take these out of the wrappers. Okay, so the first one that we have, I probably am gonna butcher this title, but it's Grand Guigonol Orchestra Volume 1. I know I said that wrong. Anyway, by Kaori Yuki. The next one that we have is Sankaria Undying Love Volume 1 by Mitsuri Hattori. I know all names in this one are probably going to be wrong. And then the final one that we have is Burn the Witch Volume 1 by Tight Kubo. Moving on to the descriptions that are on the back of the book. For this one, it says Lucille loves heading up the traveling grand orchestra, roving from town to town, entertaining the masses and making money. But now the musicians have met their toughest audience, people infected with the Gugnol virus, however you say that, turning them into zombie dolls intent on killing all humans. It says Lucille and the orchestra encounter a town overrun with the worst kind of audience, the living dead. Well, not really. There are people who have been turned into doll-like zombies, and they are definitely not a crowd to take lightly. Can a group of roving musicians use their skills to calm the beast, or is this curtains for the grand orchestra? Okay, so that kind of gives you a better summary than the first part did, like in general. So yeah, that's what this one is about. Then the next one, which looks like it might also possibly be about zombies, this description says, ever since he was little, Chihiro Furuya has felt an unusual emotional connection to zombie movies. It's not that he feels bad for the survivors. Instead, he fantasizes about comforting the poor undead girls they slaughter. When his beloved pet passes away, he decides to brew up a resurrection potion in secret. But he's discovered by a popular girl in local area, Sankaria, whose life isn't as perfect as it seems, and Furuya suggests that she could serve as a test subject. Okay, and then finally we have Burn the Witch, which on the back, I'm guessing this is probably the big selling item from this month's box, because it does say that it's an exciting new adventure set in the world of Bleach, which I haven't read. I don't think I plan on trying to read it at any point, but according to the back of this one, it says, behind the world you think you know lies a land of magic and fairy tales. But reverse London isn't the pretty picture that's painted in children's books. Fairy tales have teeth, and the dedicated agents of Wingbind are the only thing standing between you and the real story. Nini, Span Cole, and Noel Nahaishi are Wingbind agents, and they aren't serving out of the goodness of their hearts. They want achievement points and cold hard credit in their bank accounts, but instead of getting a prime assignment with lots of gold and glory, they get stuck with babysitting duty. Before they can get used to the boredom, Nini and Noelle find themselves on the run with the fugitive who's like catnip for dragons. Will they manage to pull off a happy ending, or has their story just been cursed? So this one actually sounds like it is going to be pretty fun, so hopefully that is the case. But something exciting about this one is that this is actually like a slipcover. I didn't realize that when I first opened it up, but so we do have this that comes off, and here is, this isn't the full cover. I flip it over because it's like a wraparound kind of cover, so maybe that is a little bit better so you can kind of see what it's supposed to look like. Those are the three kind of possibly spooky themed mangas for the October box, and as usual I will be back whenever I read all three of these, hopefully pretty quickly, to discuss them. I'm not sure how long it's been since I filmed the unboxing portion of this video. I know it's been at least a few months because I believe I got this box in November possibly. And we're now in March of the next year, so yeah, it's been a while, but I'm finally here. I finally finished reading all three of the mangas that I received in this box, so I figured I would go ahead and film this. So the first one that I finished out of this section, or out of this group, was Grand Guignol Orchestra Volume 1. I'm still not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. This one ended up getting 3 stars for me. I found it very fascinating, like the world and what was all going on, and like how the whole zombie system was set up, and like just everything to go along with that. But there were some drawbacks that came along with that. While I enjoyed the characters, I felt like it was a little too joking for me, like based off of this cover and the art style in general. It just seemed like it was going to be a very dark story, which it still kind of was, but along with that, it was just a lot of jokes being thrown out, and it just seems like nothing was ever too serious, which I understand the purpose or the reason behind that, but I just wasn't feeling it for the story. It's weird because, you know, sometimes you need a little lightness in stories like this, but I just didn't always feel like it suited the story. It just wasn't appealing to me personally, and I think that was like my biggest drawback of this. I just never felt like these characters were in too much danger because of the attitude of the characters, I guess is the best way to say that. Another reason why I feel like this ended up getting 3 stars, because if you don't know, I used the call pal system, which was created by G from the channel Book Roast. But I rate different elements of the story, and one of the elements that ended up getting a lower rating was the intrigue. I just felt like this was taking forever, and I'm not sure if that was like my personal mood, because I almost had to force myself to get into these. I ended up reading these towards the end of February because I kind of just had to force myself through them, because I felt like if I continued on, I would have ended up putting these off probably until almost the end of the year, and I really didn't want to do that. So me not personally being in the mood for this type of story could have been a big reason why I felt that way, but it just seemed to take forever for me to get into this and like to get through it, and it was just kind of dragging a little bit. But overall, I thought it had an interesting concept, and I would be interested in reading more. I know this is something that everyone might not be interested in, but I figured I would mention it because it's kind of like a good way to judge whether or not, or like how I would feel about a manga, I guess. Is like, this is one that I would be interested in reading but not collecting at the moment, and it definitely left me with some questions that I want to read further on so that I can get answers to those questions, especially with the way that this ended. I was kind of shocked, and I'm like, well, there's more going on to this obviously, and I want to read that, but I don't think this is something that I want to spend my money on to continue on with. And then moving on to the next one that I finished, that was Sankaria Volume 1 by Mitsuri Hattori. And sorry, I forgot to mention, but the title of this one is Undying Love. This one is another zombie story. As I said, all of these got the same rating, so this one was another 3 stars. Going into this, I was expecting something totally different than what I got at the beginning, and like, I'm equal parts okay and a little upset with that, because I was expecting one thing and took a sharp left and went backwards. I don't know. It just wasn't what I was expecting at first. I think that this is another one that has some decent elements, but it took almost the entire volume to get to that point. It's kind of hard to talk about these without really going back over the description. In this one, we're following this boy who his pet ends up passing away. I think his cat gets hit by a car, so he ends up finding this book that has some type of concoction to bring things back to life. And him being obsessed with zombies, he's like, you know what, I'm going to do whatever I can, or I'm gonna try this out to see if I can bring my cat back to life. One day, a popular girl from the other school, obviously, she comes outside this building that he's like experimenting in every night, and she ends up stumbling upon him. And according to the back of this, it's like she becomes a test subject, but that is not exactly what happens. They end up developing this friendship because she has like a really strict and unhappy home life. This one is really hard because like, it ended up getting 3 stars, but I feel like I don't even want to say that, because there were some really disturbing things that were mentioned in here that aren't like, I don't know, I feel like they weren't really challenged by the characters. Like, they were brought up and talked about how uncomfortable they were, and I think maybe our main character might have mentioned how that didn't sound like normal, but I don't know. It just seemed really wrong, and there was a lot of different elements in here that I just felt like really weird that this was a thing and it was just okay. So one of the things, I'm going to start off because I've already mentioned it, is the girl. Her name is actually Sankaria. We learn some things about her home life, and we get like a very tiny glimpse into what's going on, but there is mention of possible sexual assault. Well, I don't know if it's actually assault, but I'm going to talk about it because I want you guys to go in with like open eyes just in case. this is something you like, okay, I don't want to read it because of that, even though it's like very briefly mentioned. But I feel like I wish I would have known that. Some forewarning would have been nice. Once the two characters meet, our main character and this girl Sankaria, she ends up telling him that like every year for her birthday, her father takes pictures of her naked. And I'm like, excuse me? And it's like, it even shows like, I think, like it doesn't show too much, but we see her father, I think they're talking or something in the house, or maybe he sees her and he's in his office and he has like this big portrait of her naked in his office, like above his desk. And I'm like, excuse me, what? Like, this is just happening and it's okay. And we kind of see her mom briefly there, and like her mom is just basically non-existent because she's like, I'm off doing my career, you need to behave. It was really gross, and I was just like, no. That's revealed pretty early on. So I was already like ready to stop at that point, but I was just like, we're reading from the story, we're gonna just look past that. And it's just like a really unhealthy and abusive relationship with her father. And I understand that's the point, but I don't know. It wasn't sitting right with me, and I'm just going to leave that there. And then there was also, moving on to the next thing, like this kind of weird, unhealthy relationship with this guy and his cousin. So on the one hand, I do appreciate the fact that like it's never from our main character's perspective, but his cousin is almost like teasing the fact that she has this crush on him, and she's like revealing herself a lot. Like, where is it? This here. So like, as you can see, it looks like she's flipping her skirt up, and it's like directed towards her cousin because she doesn't know the other two boys that he's with. So it's just like really weird, and I'm like, but what is the purpose of that? And then it's even a moment later on where she's randomly at his house taking a bath. Like, she wasn't staying the night from my understanding. She was just like randomly there taking a bath. He walks in on her, which I feel like is a common theme when it comes to like when characters have crushes on another person. One of them will walk in on the other in like a shared bathroom or something like that. It was really weird, and I'm just like, I don't understand the purpose behind it. And like, for those reasons, I was just like, okay, I don't want to give this a good rating. And if we take out those elements, I feel like the actual story wasn't bad. Long story short, I know this is probably spoiling things, but honestly, you could probably tell from, you know, the whole fact that this is a zombie story, and based off of the cover, he accidentally stumbles upon actually being able to create zombies, and one thing leads to another and other things happen. I'm just gonna leave it there because this first volume, it doesn't have that much in there, because a lot of it is just like working on trying to bring his cat back and learning about this girl's home life and why she might be willing to become a zombie because she feels like that's the only escape she has. I didn't mind reading those parts of it. It was really easy to get through. I thought the artwork was simple, but it was nice. I thought the characters were okay. Or at least our main two characters, I thought they were okay. I'm just trying to move forward and get through this. But if you decide that you might possibly want to pick this up, I just wanted to give you forewarning. Or if you have this and haven't read it yet, just so you know, those are some things that happened, and I felt really weird while reading those. And I don't know, I can't like in full consciousness recommend you pick up the series because I don't know if that's going to be like repeating themes as you continue on with the series. This is one I'm still on the fence on whether or not I want to even continue reading it. Like, I'm curious of how the story is going to go and how the zombies are going to work. Things are bound to get out of control and things like that, but I'm just not sure if I'm willing to put more money into this because of how I felt while reading this volume. So yeah, as of right now, the story got 3 stars. If we were giving, like, honestly, it might have got 1, maybe 1.5 if I docked it for those other things that I just was not really a fan of. But I did the things from Call Pal, so that's what this one got. And then the final one that I have to talk about is Burn the Witch Volume 1 by Tite Kubo. I still haven't looked it up, I'm not gonna lie. And then here is the cover. I don't know what's going on. I put something on this, so now it has like a grease stain on it. I don't know what I put on here because I usually don't eat while I have like books out and things like that, but I put something on here, so now that's permanently in this one. Anyway, I don't remember how much of this was gone into in the description, and I'm too lazy right now to read that again. But long story short, this is basically following these two people who are in this, like, they're in like a parallel, or as they call it, reverse London, and they go there pretty much to kind of eradicate the dark dragons. But there are also dragons that exist, and they're in many different forms. The dark dragons come from like humans' negative emotions, and they're like dedicated, I guess that's probably not the right word, anyway, to killing humans, or like destroying and trying to get rid of humans basically. And we're following two characters. I think they're Noel Nihashi and Nini Spankhole. They're two of the agents that work in this like specific group that are tasked with getting rid of the dragons, or cultivate. They're doing a bunch of different stuff with the different dragons basically. But they end up getting caught up in the situation when a boy from the regular London ends up getting exposed, or has been exposed to dragons for so many years, and because of that he's attracting a lot of these dark dragons. So they're like, take him to reverse London to like hold on to him until whatever's decided. There's a lot of weird stuff that's going on that I feel like it's kind of hard to explain without going through the whole thing. But I will say that I ended up not enjoying this one as much as I was expecting to. I was kind of really looking forward to this one. It just seemed like it was going to be really fun. I will say it was very easy to get into. Okay, I will say that it was pretty simple as far as like the writing. I just felt like it was not as simply explained as far as what exactly was going on as it could have been. It's one of those stories that at like the beginning of the first few chapters, it was literally just repeating the same things over and over to give you an idea of what the plot was. However, I felt like it wasn't like they didn't try to explain it a different way to make a little bit more sense if you didn't completely get it the first time around. It wasn't hard to understand what was happening, but like it just almost seemed like a lazy way of introducing what was going on, which I feel like that's probably the wrong terminology as well. With that being said, I'm not sure if this is like very similar to Bleach. I know it says it takes place in the same world, so I'm not sure if you were supposed to have some previous knowledge, because there were certain points where I felt like there was information that was just kind of like thrown out, or people that came up and I should have known things already that I didn't know because I haven't read the series. So that was kind of a drawback for me, being completely new to the mangaka and not knowing anything about the previous series or world other than having seen the covers. I just felt like some information was just like, here's what's going on, and I felt like I was supposed to know that already, and I just did not. So not thinking about this lengthwise, because it is technically a longer manga. I think this one was like 260 or close to 260 pages. That wasn't really a thing for me, because usually I don't think of manga in like the same way that I think of like novels when it comes to how long I feel like I've been reading. However, this one, I felt like I was reading this forever. Literally what was going on was that I would read one chapter and then I'm like, okay, how far am I? And I'm like, I literally just read one chapter and I have like 3 or 4 more to go. It got a little bit better towards the end when there was a lot more going on. Then I was just like, okay, but I felt like I stopped at the end of every chapter, and I was just like, how much more do I have to go? Do I still have more to go? And I just wasn't enjoying it like I was hoping I would. And I think part of that has to do with the characters. They were very flat. Like, we got who they were at the very beginning, and I felt like there was never really any character development except for one moment at the end of this where this guy here, it's like he's almost hurt, and one person who was pretty much like not worried about him at all, she seemed to have cared about him in the end of that chapter. And I was just like, okay, well, maybe a little bit, but other than that, I was just like, there's really like nothing going on where I feel like I'm rooting for these characters. Like, one of them was always mad, the other one didn't care, and then he was just kind of like very unaware of what was going on, and it was just, I don't know. It wasn't what I wanted it to be, I guess, or it wasn't as exciting as I was hoping it to be, and it got 3 stars for me. I think if it had been more of what happened in the last like chapter and a half, maybe the last 2 chapters, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. It's hard to judge these because obviously you need that introduction into the beginning of the story and what's going on to, like, I guess get attached to the characters, but this just wasn't doing it for me. Just a quick recap. Like I said, all 3 of these got 3 stars. None of these really were like hits for me this month. If I had to pick a favorite out of any of them, I would probably pick this one. I guess that's where I'm gonna leave it for now. Let me know if you've read any of these. Let me know what you thought about them, and if not, let me know if you would be interested in picking any of them up. That's all I have for you guys in this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, as well as subscribe it if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you again in the next one. Bye.